Hi everyone, and welcome on the Sunset Safari. My name's Brent. Phil's on camera with me. We have Scott and Andrew on the other vehicle, and we have Tara and Nikki in final control. So welcome back to Tara. What a wonderful way to start the Sunset Safari. Look at this, Ellie's all around us. Isn't it fantastic? For those of you who might be new, welcome, and to all our regulars, always great to have you with us. For those of you new, not sure how Safari Live works, we are live. You are seeing these elephants live at the exact same time as we are, wherever you might be in the world. So welcome. We're also interactive, so you can ask us questions about what happens in the bush and with the animals that are around us, and you can do that by email. You can email questions at WildEarthTV, or you can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So we're right on the northwestern edge of quarantine clearings. We've got a small breeding herd, very relaxed herd, so we're just going to reposition now so we can get a better view of them. There's some youngsters just up to the west of me. So I know for those of you worried, and I wasn't out on the sunrise safari because Wendy was a little bit sick. We had a doctor come look at Wendy, and Wendy is feeling not 100%, but she is able to take us on a safari, and hopefully by the end of the week Wendy is going to be good as new. For those of you not sure who Wendy is the name of our game drive vehicle that takes us on these safaris, and she has a bit of a tough life, especially when I'm chasing after wild dogs, but she is fine and dandy to do the safari this afternoon. So I think we're just going to wait for these Ellies to come out of the thickets. One of the large females has already made her way out onto quarantine clearings, so we'll stay with her, and I think the others will move towards her. So a lot of you might be worried, if you're new time viewers, that we're going so close off the road to these elephants. Elephants, like with a lot of animals, if you know how to read their behavior, it's not a problem. And that's why I don't like to bash and crash in thick bush around Ellies. But I always stop a little bit further away, judge their behavior, and as you can see, this lady is taking almost zero notice of us. I'm just going to stop here for a bit. So it's 21 degrees Celsius, so, and that's about 70, I've forgotten now, 71 Fahrenheit, I think. So a bit cool. I obviously always prefer it to be a bit warmer, being a big softie when it comes to the cold. But she's feeding off a sickle bush, or a Chinese lantern tree. It's amazing. If you look at that bush there, you can see the spines. It doesn't have true thorns, but it's got modified branches that form into sharp edges to protect the tree. But as you can see, an elephant's mouth is a bit like an old boot and takes no notice of those spines, and she just munches through them. Quite nice. I feel like I haven't spent some time with elephants for quite a while. They've been few and far between, and during this time of the year they do tend to travel bigger distances between water points and feeding points. If you guys can hear that crunching, and actually that rasping of the spines on her skin. So elephants' feeding behavior is quite interesting, and it varies greatly between the dry season and the wet season. During the dry season, about 80% of an elephant's food food source is made up of grazing. For those who are not sure what grazing is, it's animals that eat grass, or the eating of grass. So they will eat mostly grass during the wet season, and only about 20% of sort of tree matter. And during the winter months, that it changes, as the grass is dry and dead and doesn't have that much food in it. They will change and eat 80% of tree bark and things like that. So here we have a question, the first one of the sunset. Hi Sarah from New York, welcome on the Sunset Safari, Sarah. Sarah said when we started out today that Eddie looked like it had a short trunk. I didn't notice that, Sarah. Does anyone know what happened? I'll go back and have a look. This is the one elephant who was there. Very, very well noticed. I think, I can't really see here. I was watching the little one. Let's try to see if this is the one that does have a slightly shorter trunk. And it does look like she is missing the tip to her trunk. I'm just going to reposition so we can try and get a better view of that. Sarah, your eyes are sharper than mine. Unfortunately, when an elephant does have a short trunk like this, Sarah, it can often be quite a sad story. I'm just going to have a look whether it's a defect from birth or it has been caused by something a little bit more nefarious. So I'm just trying to have a quick look when she... very well spotted, Sarah. As you can see, she's missing quite a large portion of her trunk and makes her a little bit clumsy when she's feeding. And just judging from what I can see there through the binoculars, and it does look like, unfortunately, that shortened trunk is from something slightly more nefarious than a birth defect. Unfortunately, that looks like a snare scar. A snare is basically a wire noose that is used to poach animals. And animals unfortunately do pick these up from time to time. What I can do is, after drive, I will try to find out from the guys who've been in this area a bit longer than me if there was a particular circumstance where an elephant had a snare and they possibly might have brought in a vet to treat this. So we get that question quite a lot. When do you interfere with what's happening out in the wild? This would be a prime example of where, judging from what it looks like, it's been treated. So this is a prime example where you would bring in a vet, dart the animal, and try rectify the injury. It does look like it happened quite a long time ago. It looks like it's healed very nicely. But this is an example where there's a man sort of influenced action that has caused an injury to this animal. Say, for example, if she had been gored by another elephant, then we would not get involved. We wouldn't at all. We would leave nature to take its course. But where humans have intervened, and you must remember, these elephants are free ranging over a huge area, so it's quite possible she could have picked up the snare 100, 200 kilometers from here. But still very sad to see this type of stuff. And it is really great that she has managed to heal. This is definitely the first time I've actually seen this elephant since I've been here. But we do have elephant herds that cover vast distances here. I don't know if you guys remember the inverted tusk one. I know a friend of mine who works in a private concession in the Kruger, and he's seen that exact same elephant. We compared photographs, probably 90, 95 kilometers from where we're sitting now. Hi Lynn from Michigan, welcome on the Sunset Safari, Lynn. Nice to have you with us. Lynn would like to know what makes an elephant's mouth tough enough that it can eat the thorns and not be bothered by them. Well, then that would be evolution. As they've evolved to eat tough things like thorns and spines and other things like that, their mouth would have become tougher and tougher. So they've got a very thick skin on the inside of the mouth, and that's what would have been the cause of them being able to munch through this stuff. Also very nice to see that even though this elephant does have an injury that's from people, it still shows very little, or ignores us completely almost, and no aggression towards her. Because if she has been treated by a vet, she has been darted and worked on and then resuscitated. So very good to see that she is completely calm, and that also lends me to think that this injury came quite a long time ago. Hi Ruth from Bangor. Welcome on the Sunset Safari, Ruth. Ruth would like to know whether you can tell left or right from the tail, whether an elephant is left or right tusk dominated by the tail. There we go, there's the tail. To which side has the most hair on it will be the predominantly used side of the tusk. Ruth, I have never in all my years heard that one before. Not to say it's not true, I've never probably studied which side of an elephant's tail has the most hair. Generally you look at wear on the tusks. So we can have a look now at this elephant as she walks across the clearings. We'll try to get a better look now to see which tusk is. I just want to get a picture of that shortened trunk so I can show the other guides. See if anyone else has seen her before. But just from the quick view I saw there, Ruth, it looks like this elephant's predominantly right tusks, and there was less hair on the right side. We'll have a look now as we jump around the front of her. There we go. She looks like she might be one of the few elephants that's quite ambidextrous. There's definitely sign of wear on both tusks, a little bit more on the right than the left. And maybe we should have a look at one of the other ellies where it's more visible. Oh, and comes a young boy off to the right, marching. And those who were on was it the Sunset Safari? No, the Sunrise Safari, I think it was. No, Sunset Safari yesterday, and we spoke about elephants and hippos being two of the only animals that can manage their environment and are very important ecological keystones in the environment. Here we have a little round-leaf teak which is females feeding on, and the elephants almost farm the teak. They don't let it get very big, and you can always tell an area that doesn't have a lot of elephants or has no elephants at all. Those teak trees become actual trees, whereas here they're sort of kept at this perfect little edible height. I've even got a friend who works in another reserve. He calls round leaf teak elephant lollipops because they always seem to have them hanging out of their mouth. Right side of the light. So, Adam, as you'll notice when we get a bit closer to a lot of these elephants, there is hair, and that's remnant hair. Just like on us, it doesn't really serve a function around an elephant's mouth that I'm aware of. There's more hair on the youngsters when they are younger, and they do lose that hair as they get older. As you can have a look, I'll get Phil to zoom in on this young elephant in front of us now. And you can even see the hair on top of its head shining in the light. Unfortunately, from this angle, we're not going to pick up the hair. Let's look on the top of the head where the light's catching the hair. There we go. And you can see, and a lot of that hair will slowly disintegrate. Oh, hello, little man, yes. And he's giving us a good smell, making sure we're not up to mischief. Hi, Sherry from Ohio. Thanks very much for that, Sherry. Sherry has sent us a little update that you guys have seen this Ellie before on the safari with Mark, and she was seen with a youngster. I'm not sure how long ago this was. There are a couple of different aged elephants in this group. This little boy is coming up quite close to the car now. Hello, mister. Sherry, I don't think this youngster belongs to the half or the short-trunked elephant. I think it definitely belongs to this other large female that we were looking at just a few seconds ago. But there are some two sub-adult elephants in this group. I'm guessing probably around 8-9 years of age. I'm not sure, maybe that's possibly the two younger ones that was seen with that. Hi, Jacqueline in Georgia. Welcome on the Sunset Safari. And there's no such thing as a silly question, Jacqueline. Only a silly answer. Jacqueline would like to know whether the elephants and the extinct woolly mammoth were related. Most definitely, they do share ancestors. And I did read something quite interesting about elephant and mammoth relation a couple of days ago. And yeah, there's another one. She started marching towards us. Quite nice to have the elephants out on the open clearings. Not too often we have them on quarantine itself, so really nice to enjoy them out in the open. So, Jacqueline, I'm just having a quick look in my big book. So there we go. The family, I remember reading this not even that long ago. Elephantidae, which are the true elephants, so not the sort of younger. Oh, we're getting a little visit here. So there are only the modern elephants and two species of mammoth that are part of the true elephant family. So very interesting. Jacqueline, let me just have a look here. The imperial mammoth, which was a mammoth imperator, and the woolly mammoth, Mammothus primigenus, were are both part of the same family. Oh, we're getting a little visit, and definitely a little boy, just purely on the behavior. Cheeky little guy. And you can see when we zoom out a little bit, the adult off to the right pays almost no attention of the young guy's shenanigans. But as soon as he started doing this slightly younger calf off to the left started coming in a bit closer. But he's just trying to remind us that he's a big tough elephant, but we don't take much notice of him. So quite a funny little fact about woolly mammoths, now that we've brought them up, is that some of the Tsars in Russia used to dig them out of the tundra in Siberia and throw banquets with mammoth meat, which I found quite strange. So, very interesting. So we're going to stay with these Ellies for a little bit longer, and then we'll sneak across to Scotty to see what he's been up to. I know he disappeared off to Arathusa to try find you guys a leopard. I think there was a report of Sindile, Shadow's 8.5, 9-month-old cub that was seen late this morning. So fingers crossed that Scotty's managed to produce some leopard magic. But as I was saying here about the mammoths that were on it, apart from the Tsars digging them up from the frozen tundra to feed to his guests as a sort of exotic delight, we're just going to reposition for a little bit before we go chat on about woolly mammoths and strange Russian monarchs' feeding habits. So quite interesting, before we move on to that, you notice that these elephants have split. The one with the short trunk, and it looks like one of the sub-adult females has moved quite a distance away, and that's not unusual for elephants to feed over quite a wide area. But also it's not unusual for related family groups to come together for a short time and then split. And when you get those really big herds of elephants, as I've seen in Botswana and in the Kruger, 100, 150 plus, a lot of that will be sort of cousins and whatnot, and there will be a split afterwards, and they don't always spend that much time all together. There was a young bull hanging on the peripheries. There he is. Let's go have a look at him. We haven't had a look at him yet. Stop it. Don't be a naughty. Don't be a naughty. I'll sort you out. So this is that young female. Come on. Enough now. Move it. Stop being silly. Stop being silly. I'm watching you. Coming around your left foot. See, when a lot of people think an elephant's charging, it's not, it's just giving you a warning. You can see she's just being a bit silly. Off she charges now, running around. And what the most important thing to do in these situations is to stop the car, switch off. If I had to drive off fast in that situation, she would have definitely chased. And a lot of animals have learned to chase, and a lot of the bad behavior that people report from Kruger and other reserves is actually learned behavior from guides behaving incorrectly or not having enough experience with them. The most important thing with elephants is always to stay calm. So I'll switch off the vehicle rather than move. If we move, we'd keep up with the charge. Or it wasn't and a lot of people refer to a thing called a mock charge. In my opinion, there's no such thing as a mock charge. There's a warning charge, and that can very easily turn into a full charge. But unlikely with a young animal like that. I think she just felt when we were driving between the bull, we drove between her and the other elephants that were in the clearing. She might have felt a little bit out of sorts, but she's calmed down now. Oh, it looks like she feels the need to give us another little hello, even though we've purposely moved a bit further away from her here. She is there, giving her some distance. We've got a question from Terence in Margate. Hi Terence, I hope the south coast of South Africa, of the KwaZulu-Natal, is nice and warm. Terence would like to know, why are all the elephants here tusks so short? Well, Terence, they're all females, and it's unusual for females to have very large tusks. I mean, it does happen. Generally, that very large tusk and thick tusk is reserved for the bulls. The females only use the tusks to peel bark and for feeding, whereas the bulls need those big, thick tusks to fight for mating rights. I think we're going to go have a look at the female with the shorter trunk again for the last little bit. It's amazing how she's learnt now to use her tusk, use her trunk as effectively as we were watching her do that. Let me just get on the right side of the light. There she is. Oh, the side-striped jackal. Very nice. And incoming. So there's this young female being a bit silly again. And we've got a pair of side-striped jackals. We're just gonna watch this elephant. I'm gonna keep still again. There we go, Phil. She's still coming. So even in her body language here, she is not that upset. It's more looks like she's having a bit of fun. And if you notice, the adult elephant to the left is actually taking no notice of all her trumpeting and running around like a silly elephant. Just over there, Phil, we've got a pair of side-striped jackal lying in there, which is not something we see very often. So I'm going to try sneak a bit closer to them now. So I'm pretty sure this is the same pair that Byron, who was on interview last week, would have seen when he ended off his drive. They look quite nice and relaxed, and I don't know if those of you who've been watching for quite a while, I'm going to try to sneak a little bit closer to these jackal, will remember. Yes, I see you. See, she's trumpeting us while still trying to put terminalia in her mouth. A jackal has seen something that's not running from us. He's running because he thought he saw something he could catch, because the other one is lying in a little ball next to us. We might have heard something. Off it goes. Definitely heard something. And then we've got the other who's sitting really nice and snug, getting a bit of sunshine just to the right of us. So that other one's gone into those thickets. There's one right in the open to the right of us. So this will be a pair. Quite an interesting jackal species. Very, very omnivorous. They eat a lot of fruit and insects. Unlike the blackback jackal, which is far more specific in its needs for meats, it will feed off other things as well, but eats far more meat than anything else. But the side stripes are actually, in certain areas, are recorded eating more fruit species than carrion So quite nice to have them back on the quarantine clearings. Those who've been watching for a while will remember the last side-striped jackal I saw on quarantine clearings was killed by a quarantine male leopard about 3 meters from my vehicle. And that was quite an exciting sighting. Unfortunately, it happened after we went off air, but that was very interesting, and that was the last time I saw a jackal on these clearings, and that must be nearly 2 months ago now. I mean, yeah, the squirrels haven't quite got used to having jackal around. They are alarm calling at a great rate at them. So quite funny, when I was working in Zambia, I was trying to catch some problem bush pigs, and I was also trying to catch a pair of side-striped jackals to release onto a reserve that was on another reserve. And when I went to go try catch the problem bush pigs, I thought, well, the best bait for a bush pig will be watermelon. So I loaded my steel trap that I used to catch bush pigs and other animals in the past before, and with watermelons, and I caught the side-striped jackal. And funny enough, 3 months earlier, when I'd been trying to catch side-striped jackal and I was using impala meat as bait, I caught bush pigs. So they both are quite omnivorous, so very interesting. But I think you've got tired of me now, and I know Scotty's been searching long and hard for Sindile, so fingers crossed he's got a little leopard magic in his step today, and it'll be nice to see what Scotty's been up to, and we'll be back with you a little bit later in the drive, so have fun with Scotty.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome on board with myself and Andrew on camera. If any of you are joining for the first time, my name's Scott, and you'll notice that I'm whispering. Now, we've got very, very lucky this afternoon, and take a look at what we found. Now, as you can see, there's a beautiful little leopard lying in the grass just meters away from us. We're incredibly lucky to be this close to him and for him to tolerate us. And he's more concerned about those flies buzzing about his head than he is with us, which is just how we want it to be. And now he's chewing on that little blade of grass. He appears to be waking up now. But you never can be sure with leopard. They show signs of becoming active and then go straight back to sleep. But since we've been here, and we have been here for about 20 minutes or so, he hasn't moved a muscle until right now. So that's the most action we've seen, and you couldn't have joined at a better time. The name of this leopard is Sindile, and he's a young male, around 11 months old now, and thanks very much for the correction that we got from one of our viewers. I think it was Joanne, possibly, who sent through that email. I'd been saying that he's 8 months old, but he is in fact a little bit older than that and is believed to have been born in August 2014. His mother is called Shadow, and we've been seeing the two of them fairly frequently over the last few weeks. And it's really great because initially we only had 1 or 2 glimpses of him and his mother over November, December, and January. Look at how awesome this is. And with these little flies bothering him, he may get up and move, or he may just lie there and continue to swat at them from the comfort of the ground. If you are joining for your first time, you've got off to a great start. and I hope you're enjoying this as much as Andrew and myself are. We were hoping to find a leopard this morning, and we were tracking in all likelihood his mother, judging from the size of her tracks and the area in which those tracks were moving. And they were probably about 2 miles away from where we are here. But look at him looking back at us. Absolutely awesome. But like I was saying, it's not uncommon for leopards to leave their cubs in order to go off and hunt. And at this age of his life, he'll be more of a nuisance than a help to have along on hunting trips. He still has a lot to learn with regards to that. And he'll be able to practice his hunting and hone his techniques. While he is left alone, he can chase little insects, butterflies, or even the flies that he's swatting at now, all help hone his reflexes. Is he going to get up for us? I hope he does. We are on Arathusa, and we got a report from their guides that they did see him later on this morning's drive, and he was apparently eyeing out a barn owl that was seeking refuge in a dead leadwood tree nearby. So we headed straight out here this afternoon and got really fortunate to find him lying in this golden grass. They blend in so well, and from a distance it can be tricky to spot them. I'm certainly very happy that we did, and this is going to be my last drive before I head off on a 2-week leave. And I was hoping to see any leopard before I went on leave, but to see him, I think, is a bonus. He's a real character, and it's been great to watch him, and it will be great to continue watching him grow over the coming months. Look at this. This is just too good. There's a bit of perfect golden afternoon sunlight poking through onto him. And you don't get much better than this. Cedric, I've got your audio. You should get our visual to the east of you now. He's just got up. There will be some other vehicles joining us here, and there's also a chance we may need to move out and make space for other people to join the sighting, but we'll do our best to stay here for as long as possible. But it is important for especially the first-time viewers to know that there's a 3-vehicle protocol or limit per sighting, and that's to ensure that we don't interfere with the animal's afternoon and plans, and that way we get this very relaxed behavior from them. And isn't it beautiful to see them in this perfect afternoon light? You really have got lucky here. Now, if any of you may be joining for the first time and have just joined very recently, it's important to know that you can send questions through to us at any given stage, because this is a live safari. What you're seeing now is happening this very second, and he's just climbed up onto a termite mound, which is going to make for a beautiful view. And if any of you would like to send through questions, it's quite easy. You hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. Now I'm just going to wait for the other vehicle to arrive and get into position before we start moving our vehicle. And again, that way we put as little stress or pressure on the animals as possible, and this results in a very relaxed response from the animals to us. Typically, in most parts of Africa, leopard will exist, but it's very rare for us to be allowed so close to them without them hiding away from us. They typically only allow you to see a fleeting glimpse of their tail as they duck off into the undergrowth. However, in the Sabi Sands, they've become habituated to the vehicles and see us as a neutral being. They don't see us as a threat, we don't help them, and we're allowed to fit in and watch their daily lives, which we're really lucky about. So, now that the other vehicle is parked, we can get into position and see what he's up to. Down in quite an awkward spot, so I'm just going to have to think about how best to position the vehicle. But we should get a little gap here. I haven't left Andrew too much to work with, but he will be able to get you in there for a close view.
So he used to have pretty much a sibling as well, but his sibling was pretty much killed after about 2 months.
And isn't that beautiful?
We don't know. It's really, sometimes hyenas, other predators and all that. It's just an elimination of competition.
Well, good afternoon, Ginny, and thanks for sending your question through. Ginny is asking how old will he be before he needs to hunt for himself, and from anywhere in the next 6 or 7 months, he could very well be kicked out by his mother and therefore need to fend for himself. So anywhere from 18 months to 2 years, he will need to become fully independent. But I'm sure even by now in his life, he would have caught small prey like mongoose or tree squirrels, maybe even little birds. So it's not that he can't hunt yet, but he certainly would battle to fend for himself. And in the next 6 or 7 months, he will learn those necessary skills. Thanks for that question though, Ginny, and we really do appreciate everybody's questions that come through, so please keep them coming.
It just shows you how big everything is.
What an absolutely awesome view this is. It makes such a difference being eye level with the animals, and at the moment, because he is elevated up on this termite mound, it's making for a wonderful, wonderful scene. Well, I'm very happy to hear that there is a whole bunch of very happy kids at the Dayton's Children's Hospital, because I'm told that this is your favorite leopard, and aren't we so lucky to be spending the afternoon with him? I'm so happy that you've chosen him as your favorite, and it's going to be so much fun watching him grow over the next few months. And I hope all of you guys are feeling good and having a fun safari with us.
Very relaxed as well. You can see him closing his eyes when he's really asleep now. And of course, patient with him. He's like a big age already. He's pretty much...
Now, he could have just moved this very short distance simply to get out of the sun that was poking through the shady bush that he was seeking refuge behind. And now, as you can see, he has got a fairly more shady area, and it is quite warm when you are in the sun, and it will get a lot colder later on, but for now the sun is quite warm on our backs.
Really buffalo camouflage. Because they're solitary animals, they have to really kind of blend in with the background, the surroundings and all that, just to kind of really get that close to the prey.
Just a quick low line brush like this, you could barely see it.
It did.
If you would have pointed out.
Exactly, they're blending so well. It's feeling everybody at the moment.
How's it, Cedric?
Hey, it's good, how's it going, man?
Yeah, very good. And yourself? Good. I'll take it there's people on standby.
It is, they're fourth floor, they're coming from EP side.
Okay, just tell me when it's time for me to...
No, I think it's just fourth.
Okay, because I'm happy, I can just go and come back.
We've got air tracks going into the, behind our dam.
Okay. So just to keep you all in the loop, I've just been chatting with Cedric, one of the Arethusa guys, and he's helping by letting me know when it's time for me to make space for the next vehicle, and that way I don't have to listen to the busy radio channel and I can just concentrate on chatting with all of you. And that's Sean in the background there. You may have heard his name a lot of times, and he's a serious character, and it would be great if you could take some screenshots of him there. That would be a wonderful one for us to send on to him and repay the Arethusa guys for all the animals they find for us. It'd be interesting to know what he's looking up in the little tree above him. It's a buffalo thorn tree. There could be a little bird hopping about, but there's something that's definitely caught his attention in there. We've just got a question through from 23 Skidoo. Good afternoon and welcome on board with us. 23 Skidoo is interested to know our thoughts on Shadow's capabilities as a mother, because she leaves him for long periods of time, and possibly that's why she lost her other cubs. To be honest, a good mother will leave her cub for as long as it takes to find the next meal, and without either of them being fed, they will both die. So it's more important for her to go out and find food, even if it takes her days and days of neglecting him, because if both of them don't get food, then they will both die. So it's not that she's a bad mother. She does exactly what she has to do, and all female leopards will act the same way. They will leave cubs from when they are very young for many hours to go out and hunt, and food is their primary focus, and their secondary focus will then be raising the youngsters, and it has to be that way. We as humans, well, most of us that are in a lucky enough position, do not have to worry about where our next meal is coming from, but the animals do, and that's their foremost concerns, their primary concern, to find food and then do all the other things in life. Well, guys, we've had such a great sighting of him already, and I think what we're going to do is, in the next few minutes, make space for another vehicle, but we're not going to go far away, and once the guys have come and showed their guests this beautiful cat, then hopefully there'll be space for us to return and continue viewing him. So just to let you know, that is our plan, but we can answer a few more questions before I go. Well, good afternoon, Benjamin, and thanks for sending your question through. Benjamin would like to know whether leopards will often eat grass or chew on grass, and will they also feed on insects? They're both good questions. Yes, they will feed on grass, typically green grass, to help them to purge their system and get rid of fur balls and matter that they're trying to get out of their digestive system. So that's why they'll eat grass, just like your regular domestic cats and dogs will do. That piece of dry grass that he put onto earlier was more playful than anything else. And in terms of insects, yes, they certainly will. I haven't seen it actually, but young leopards will definitely eat grasshoppers and flying ants and just about anything they can catch. Like most predators, they'll be highly adaptable to the area that they're in, and there have even been accounts of leopard catching fish to feed on. So they do have a very wide and varied diet, and I have no doubt that they will eat insects if they are desperate.
Maybe a predator or something, maybe it's another way to talk. I'm interested in that.
Well, some of you may be concerned as to the proximity of the vehicles to this leopard, but judging by its behavior, you can see that it is completely relaxed by us. Yes, it may get the occasional small fright as a branch breaks or something like that, but if the impact was so negative that they didn't want us to find them, they wouldn't allow us to. It's that simple. And like I've said before, we're very fortunate in the Sabi Sands because leopards accept our presence and are comfortable to expose themselves to us. If they didn't want to or didn't enjoy being seen by us, they simply would not let us find them. So it's just a rare and wonderful opportunity that we have as guides of the Sabi Sands to share these up-close and wonderful images of leopard with you. And it's not wherever you go in Africa. We are certainly very lucky this afternoon, and you certainly don't have to worry about us being too close to the leopard or that we may be scaring it in any way. Okay, folks, well, it sounds like Brent is still with that herd of elephants that you were looking at a little bit earlier. So we are going to head back to Brent and we'll catch up with you all a little bit later. We're also going to leave the sighting and allow another vehicle to come in and take a closer look, and then hopefully we'll be able to rejoin a little bit later. Enjoy what Brent's got, and we'll see you in a bit.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great time with Sindile. I'm really excited that Scotty had that leopard luck and managed to find him. That's really, really cool. Keep updated with that little guy as he grows up. As you can see, we're still with the Eddies. We're now with a young bull who's on the periphery of the breeding herd. The rest of the breeding herd is slowly mobile into the thickets to the south of us. And quite often you find bulls about this age. He's probably around late teens, possibly early 20s, and he's been pushed to the periphery of the herd by the adult females, and they can be a bit rambunctious at this age and tend to cause a bit of havoc. You can see he's feeding on a silver cluster leaf, which is quite interesting. So I've been very fortunate that I've lived and worked in lots of different areas in Africa, and what's amazing is that in different areas elephants eat different things, even though some of the same species occur. So for example, in northern Zululand, the elephants would completely ignore silver cluster leaves and not eat it because they had a really nice choice of food to feed on. In the Sabi Sands, they don't eat silver cluster leaf that often, but I have seen them feeding on it. And then if you go up to northern Botswana, they actually almost farm the silver cluster leaf a lot like they do with mapanis in northern South Africa. So very interesting, and a lot of animal behavior and diet and stuff like that is very area specific rather than species specific. So we write all these books with these big general rules, but it's very, very easy for the elephants to just ignore them. They don't read the books, only we do. Hi, Ginny. Welcome on the Sunset Safari, Ginny. Nice to have a question from you. Ginny would like to know, do elephants ever chew on bones for calcium? Ginny, I've actually never seen or heard of that. There have been recorded cases, but not in my experience, no. Hi Benjamin, welcome on the Sunset Safari. Benjamin would like to know, do younger elephants need softer grass to eat? Well Benjamin, while they're still feeding from their mother, from the teats, they still haven't quite figured out how to use their trunks, and they will play with grass and trees, but generally very little actual feeding takes place. As they get a bit older, they will eat, and they do tend towards the sort of more succulent grasses or softer grasses and leaves, but that ends quite quickly. So there's a very short time they might, but they also might not. I have seen them take down acacias at a very young age. So it's a difficult one. I would say there's possibly a short period where that does happen, but most of the time, I think once they've weaned off milk, they are pretty prepared to take on the thorns and spines of all the trees and bushes around here. Hi Lee, from the Dayton Children's Hospital. Welcome on the Sunset Safari with us, Lee. Lee is 12 years old, and Lee would like to know, why would anyone want to hurt such a wonderful animal like an elephant, referring to that elephant with the shortened trunk we saw earlier. Well Lee, I think in this case, I don't think the elephant was the specific target of the snare. Those type of traps are generally made for catching things like impala and inyala and warthog by subsistence poachers. So we've got to remember there's two very different types of poachers. You have subsistence poachers that are poaching to try feed themselves and their family, and they might be very, very poor, and obviously their main concern is staying alive. And you have commercial poachers, which are ones that are hunting elephants for their teeth and rhinos and things like that. So I don't think that anyone intended to go hurt this Ellie. I think it was just an accident that the elephant put its trunk through the snare, and its trunk would have got caught. And the way those are designed, it makes it tighter and tighter, so it would have cut into the poor Ellie's trunk. But fortunately, it looks like someone was able to help this one. But I hope that helps answer your question there, Lee. Oh, the elephant's escaping, so we're going to move on. So he stopped next to the marula there, but he's feeding off a little raisin bush that's growing below there. Sorry guys, just going to be on the Game Drive radio for a second. Andrew coming? Good, thanks. Just wondering, what was that update, and have there been any update on Vangala in the north? Copy, thanks very much, Andrew. So if you guys are new, what you've heard there is me chatting to the guides who are coming in from the south and from the east of us, just finding out what's been going on down there and if there's any animal movements. We haven't seen lions for a while, and they've been down to the east and to the north of us. So just checking if there's any movement or possible movement towards our boundaries. Well, I think we're going to leave these ellies be and let them continue on. You can see there's some of them disappearing into the thickets in front of us, and I'm quite sure this young bull is going to stay hanging around the peripheries and follow them into those thickets. So we're going to go see what else we can see. Sorry guys, I'm just going to be on the Game Drive for a second. There's quite a lot of chatter. Such a beautiful evening. Definitely going to get a little bit chilly later, but always wonderful to be out here. We're incredibly lucky to live and work in an area like this. I mean, those elephants are less than 500 meters from our camp. Yeah, we're incredibly lucky. So I'm getting a bit nervous. I've heard rumors of a cold front on their way, and the regular viewers will know I'm a big softie when it comes to the cold. Hot water bottles and all will come with me on Game Drive. Hi Liberty, and welcome on the Sunset Safari. Nice to have you with us. Liberty was fanning his ears, and does he do this to cool down? Liberty, that is 100% correct. It is one of the cooling mechanisms an elephant uses. They can have up to, well, not the little guy, but the bigger ones can have up to 8 liters of blood in their ears. And what they do is they bring that blood close to the surface, and as they wave the ears, it cools that blood down, and it circulates through with warm blood from the rest of the body coming in, and that cooler blood going out. So I did see some giraffe around here earlier, so I'm going to see if we can find them again. Maybe they've made their way down towards the Gowrie Dam, so zoomies, keep a lookout for the giraffe. Amazing how such a large, tall animal can disappear so quickly. So guys, it feels like I haven't tested you guys enough in the last while. I've been giving you a little break on the quizzes, and I don't know, we're going to start with a tough one or an easy one. And what to ask you? Anyway guys, why don't you let me know what you feel like being quizzed on today. It can be birds, it can be insects, it can be flowers, mammals, cats, dogs, whatever you would like. So send me what you would like a quiz on, and you can do that by emailing questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Now, where did those giraffes disappear to? So just a quick update for those who might have tuned in a bit late on the Sunset Safari. Well, we've been spending some time with a wonderful little herd of elephant on the quarantine clearings. One of them actually has an old snare wound, so it's got a shortened trunk, and quite sad, but it looks like it's recovered really well. Happened a long time ago, and amazing that that elephant has got so much dexterity with a piece of her trunk missing. Also, Scotty has been with Sindile, that 8.5 month. Oh, there they are. We stalked them and hunted the giraffes down. Fortunately, they just ended up in the road, so not much work from my side. But so Scotty's been with Sindile, a young male leopard, Shadow's cub for the regular viewers who know the history of these animals very well, and you guys had a really wonderful sighting of him trying to catch flies, so really awesome. So that's for those who have logged in a little bit late. We've got 2 female giraffe, which we don't see as often here on Djuma. I mean, I've often said I've actually seen more leopards than giraffes since I've been here, and I'm not even joking. And unfortunately, the sun's in a little bit of a bad spot, so I'm going to try sneak past them and get the light behind them to make Phil's job a little bit easier, and you guys can get those fantastic screenshots that you do. Okay, we're going to move forward. Now actually, that giraffe we saw there was eating quite an interesting little tree. Not very many animals eat that tree. Once we get across to the right side of the lights, I'll let you have a look at it. It is quite a young one, so it could be quite difficult for you guys to ID. There we go. That's the light we want. Beautiful late afternoon light. Fantastic clouds behind. Get your screenshots ready. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? Here we go. Female giraffe. And she's got quite a few ticks on her. And some oxpeckers hopping around her ear. Oh, went in her ear and got chased out. Wonderful skyline behind them with that great light. Doesn't like the spike thorn. And move on to the quarry. Nope, doesn't like that either. What is possible, while they disappear there quickly, I'm going to ask Phil to take you in a bit closer to this tree quickly. This is a young one, so it doesn't have a lot of the diagnostic features of the older ones that we've showed you before. So have a look directly in front of us. I'm just going to zoom in a bit quicker. So I'll show you now. I've just went to pick a leaf. I'm going to pop the leaf on the dashboard here. So I picked a leaf. Hopefully this is a good leaf. I don't know if you're going to be able to see on this leaf. No, this is not a good one. I'll be back in 2 ticks. Not doing the best. What I was hoping it would. It could be I'm picking a little bit low, but if we have a zoom right tight in on this leaf, you can see a little, oh, I don't know if we're going to be able to see it, a tiny little white dot in there, and that's a milky latex. And this plant is actually quite noxious, so quite poisonous, and if you even cook on the wood of this tree, you will get very, very sick. So this is a young Timbuti tree, and certain animal species, including giraffe, eat it quite often if they think they've got stomach problems, and they actually use it to purge the system. So if they've got tapeworms and other intestinal worms, they will eat this tree to purge. I've just got a really good bit of news back in. So we're going to cross across to Scotty, who's still with Sindile, that beautiful young leopard cub, and we'll be back with you a little later in the show.
Welcome back, everyone, and thankfully the vehicle who was making his way here has decided not to come here anymore, so we could come back in and join Sean and Cedric and Sindile, this beautiful young male leopard. He's just perched up on this termite mound in perfect golden afternoon sunlight, so enjoy as Andrew takes you a little bit closer. He's been shifting around, but only on that termite mound. He's moved around about 4 or 5 times, but simply readjusting his position to get more comfortable. And I'm hoping in the next short while he may start becoming a bit more playful and may go and look for some small animals to chase after. Just like most young animals, they can be highly curious and full of energy, and I'm hoping to see a little bit of that playful behavior coming through as it begins to cool down. And each minute that goes by now, it's cooling down quite considerably, and will continue to do so until the sun sets in about 45 minutes. A little bit earlier on, Cedric heard, who's one of the other guides in the sighting, heard some impala alarm calling nearby. So there's a chance that Shadow, his mother, is on the way back, and wouldn't it be incredible to see them reunite? About 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were lucky enough to see that, and it was an incredible sighting. We were alerted to his presence by another vehicle that had found him, and 2 hyena had chased him up a marula tree and were lying nearby while he perched up in the tree. And within minutes of us being there, we heard him contact calling, which is a small cat-like, almost not a grunt, it's a hard word to describe, but it's a small contact call that they let off to communicate with their mother. And she was calling from probably a quarter of a mile away, and that got his attention, and he scrambled down the marula tree and continued on to see her. Oh, look at that. Absolutely beautiful. looks like he's wanting to climb up onto this fallen down knobthorn tree, which will again make for a beautiful sight if he continues along it. What will his next move be? Now, I know it would have been a good option to possibly move around to the other side of the termite mound to see his face, but he has been moving around quite a bit, and I'd prefer to move around as little as possible because, as you've just seen now, he has already changed position again, and there's no need for us to continue moving about. We are getting great views from just about wherever we are here. And what will his next move be? I'm wondering if he's going to head to the dead leadwood tree where he was apparently taking a very close look. Excuse me, sorry about that. I sneezed right into the microphone, so that must have been very unpleasant for all of you. As I was saying though, he could well head back to the same tree where he was taking a very close look at some barn owls earlier on today. Here he goes. It will be really beautiful if he continues along this fallen down tree. And I think he's going to. Only after he's sufficiently attacked that bush that he's busy investigating. I'm going to test. I'm not sure what exactly he's trying to achieve there. What it may be. Sindile, this young male leopard who we're looking at. And in all likelihood it's Tingana, and the reason why we can assume that, or very safely assume that, is because that is where this cub has been raised. It's within Tingana's territory, and he's the dominant male of this area. If he wasn't the father of this cub that we are looking at, he would have killed it. And that's why we can assume that it is in fact Tingana. If other male leopards who did not father other leopards comes across them, if they are still reliant on their mother, which he is, the male leopard will kill them, thus releasing the mother of the responsibility to raise that cub. And quite often, male leopards are the biggest killers of leopard, not hyena or lion, even though they will all attack them if need be. And it's merely a matter of competition. All predators will try and kill one another's cubs. Thankfully though, this young male has been avoiding that scenario, and that's good to his mother's good parenting. And interestingly enough, this leopard's father, who is believed to be Tingana, as I just said, is now spending more time to the east on Djuma. And what this means is that Shadow is following him. And the reason why she's following him is to avoid pressure from a new male called the Anderson male, who's putting pressure on Tingana. And therefore, sorry, we just need to avoid the faces of all the guests as they drive past. And that's why Andrew panned the camera down there. So the bottom line is Tingana is getting pressure from another male leopard from the west called Anderson male. And if the Anderson male now, who spends more time on Arethusa, where Shadow used to originally spend more time, The reason why I said we can safely assume, though, back to the beginning of your question, that we can assume that Tingana is the father, is that leopardess will often mate with multiple males, and that way give them the false sense of fatherhood, that way increasing the chance of cubs not being killed by males that surround the area in which a female may live. So I hope that answers your question, all the way over from Calgary. And let's see if we can reposition now. He's completely out of sight, and hopefully we'll be able to get a better view.
Scott, come here. I'm going to pull out.
Okay, awesome. Thanks very much, Sindile. Okay, well, I'm just going to wait for Cedric to reposition his vehicle, and then we will move a little bit closer and take his spot, which he says has got a very good view. And then, would you believe it, we are left alone with this beautiful young leopard with no rush to go off elsewhere and see anything. And that's one of the huge privileges that we have on Safari Live, is that we have plenty of time to spend with animals. And I hope you're all enjoying this afternoon with not only the leopard, but also with the elephant that Brent has found. How lucky are we that we can chop and change between various vehicles depending on where the action is. I'm not going to reposition just yet, and rather wait and see what he decides to do. Well, good afternoon, Petra, and thanks very much for sending your question through. Petra would like to know, how old will a leopard be when it gets its adult teeth? Well, they'll already be growing now, and the teeth that he has now will see him through for the rest of his life. They are going to become much bigger over the coming months, but everything that he's got now is just going to become considerably larger, but nothing else will change. He's not going to lose teeth and get new fangs or canines. He's just going to become a bigger version of exactly what we're seeing now. And in terms of size, he will probably at least double in size. And it's going to be really interesting for all of us to watch his growth over the coming months. He's moving around a little bit, so Andrew's going to try and take you in a bit closer to see what exactly he's doing. He's sniffing very intently in that small buffalo thorn tree. And he was looking up into it earlier, so I wonder what he's noticed in there. Again, I'm just going to give him as much space as he requires, and then that way he may decide to rather come to us, which looks like what he's doing this very second. Well, good afternoon, Eric, and welcome on board. Eric would like to know the likelihood of this leopard jumping up onto the hood of the vehicle like a termite mound, or just a vantage point. And it's a good question, Eric. It's not uncommon for cheetah to do that in reserves where they've become very used to the vehicles. But for leopard, it's exceptionally rare, and the only confirmed incident of a similar nature to what you're asking is a leopard jumped up and put her two paws on the passenger door, the front passenger door of a vehicle, and looked across the guide. And that happened in the Sabi Sands with a guide that I knew. So her head was just on the opposite side of where he was sitting in the passenger seat, but her two front paws were up on the door, and she was looking straight across beyond him towards some impala that were on the other side of him. It is, however, very uncommon, as habituated as leopards may be, to get to that degree. And to be honest, we wouldn't want that to happen. And good guiding practice in a scenario like that is, if a leopard did get too close to the vehicle and attempted to jump onto the hood, you should rather chase it off and not promote that kind of behavior. There certainly does need to be a line drawn in the sand when it comes to habituating animals, and you always want to keep the animals relatively scared of us as humans. There needs to be that little element of caution when they are around us. I'm going to reposition now and try and loop ahead of him, and there's a strong chance he's going to pop out into this big open clearing, and I'm hoping head off to that same tree where he was eyeballing some barn owls earlier this morning, which is a report we got from the guides who found him later on this morning's drive. Well, I hope you're all having fun, because I certainly am. And if you've just joined, my name is Scott. We've got Andrew on camera, and we are with Sindile, a beautiful young male leopard. He's around 11 months of age now, and we are in for a treat of an afternoon. Well, he's coming right up to the vehicle, and aren't we so lucky to be enjoying this? The sun's now poking out below a cloud that it was currently stuck behind. And this is absolutely awesome. You can imagine how easy it would be to drive past a leopard if it was hidden in a bush like this, but thankfully we know where he is before he went in there. Maybe we should. I was thinking of repositioning and getting ahead of him, and that way giving him the required space he needs to do what he wants to do.